All right, let's be super honest right now. Something feels off about electric vehicles right now. For years, we were told that they were the future, the only future. We all imagined a world where the noisy rumble of gas cars was gone, replaced by a quiet zoom sound of like an electric vehicle, right? It was an exciting promise of like a cleaner and better world or whatever. We saw the ads, we heard the hype, and it really seemed to be happening. But lately, that feeling has changed. The news sound different, and the people are talking about EVs in a new way. It seems like the big electric revolution has hit a few speed bumps. If you looked around and thought to yourself, hey, is people still buying these vehicles? You're honestly not wrong to wonder. The numbers are telling a whole new story. One about slowing sales, shocking prices, and a market that's suddenly slamming on the brakes. So, like, let's cut through the hype and forget about the big promises for a minute. First, let's talk about the biggest issue in the US, right? For years, electric car sales were like a rocket taking off. Every year, the numbers just went up and up. It felt like nothing could really stop it. And gas powered cars were literally on their way out. But now, for the first time in a long time, the growth has pretty much hit a wall. So, what happened? The answer is pretty simple. A big government discount just went away. For years, buying an EV was a lot easier thanks to the huge bonus of 7,500 federal tax credit. Let's be clear about what that means though. For a lot of families, right, $7,500 was a huge deal. It could be a few mortgage payments, a big family vacation, or a nice boost to a college fund. It was a powerful reason to choose electric and made a very expensive car feel possible. But when that big federal tax credit ended in the late 2025, the party was over. That safety net was gone. Suddenly, though, the EV market had to stand on its own 2 feet. Right before the deadline, though, we saw a huge spike of sales. And this was because all the people that are into EVs and can afford them, or maybe they couldn't because they were getting the tax credit, they rushed to get them in right before that deadline, right before the $7,500 were gone. And for that moment, the EVs made it seem like they made 10% of all car sales in the US. It seemed like a huge win, but it wasn't real though. It was just a last minute rush. And the moment that that credit was gone, right? The moment that it disappeared, the numbers collapsed. The share of EVs sold in America dropped from that high of over 10% to less than 6%. That means hundreds of thousands of cars that were expected to be sold, they just weren't. It proved that many people weren't sold on the car itself, they were sold on the government's cash offer. It wasn't just about choosing a new technology. For many, it was about getting a great deal. And as soon as that deal was gone, we saw how many people truly were ready to buy an EV pretty much on their own without the government's help. And that brings us to the second and maybe the biggest problem. EVs are just too expensive. Without the government discount to help, the market had a face of simple truth. For most people, electric cars are just luxury. In the early 2026, the numbers are hard to ignore. The average price for a new electric vehicle was nearly $52,000. Just think about that for a second. The average price of a vehicle that's electric is $52,000. And that's not even for like a top of the line model. That's like the middle. And like as some of us might already know, a $52,000 car isn't just a stretch. It's not even in the budget. It's a huge price wall keeping millions of people out of the market pretty much. And at the same time, something else started happening that just helped the EV sales to go even lower. The sales of an older, less flashy type of car began to climb. Hybrids. Out of a sudden, hybrids, the cars that were supposed to be just a bridge to an all electric future, are making a massive comeback. They're literally becoming the smart and practical choice for the average person. Why though? Because they solve the biggest problems people have with the EVs. They offer way better gas mileage than the normal car, but they don't come with the scary price tag of a full EV. You don't need to install a special charger at home, and you never have to worry about running out of battery on a long trip. They're literally the middle ground. And it turns out that's exactly what millions of people want. Now, you can't talk about EVs without talking about Teslas. For like a real long time, the story of electric cars was the story of a Tesla. The brand literally became what it meant to have an electric vehicle. They were literally the first brand that make electric vehicles cool. For years though, Tesla's growth was the entire market's growth. But that's changing. In 2025, something huge happened. Tesla sales around the world dropped, and not by a little. It was a clear sign that its time as an unstoppable leader was being challenged. But an even bigger moment was when Tesla lost its title. For the first time, Tesla was not the world's biggest seller of electric vehicles. That spot now belongs to a Chinese company called BYD. And this is a massive shift. BYD, a company that most people in the US have never heard of, is winning with like a total different strategy. Instead of focusing on expensive, high performance luxury cars, BYD found incredible success by selling a wide variety of cheaper, more practical cars. They aren't just selling a dream, they're trying to sell a car for everyone. And this shows that the global EV market is finally growing up. It's not the one company race anymore. The new players are showing up, not just with expensive halo cars, but with affordable options that most people can actually buy. Tesla's struggles and BYD's rise pretty much proves that the next car, the next vehicle, whether it be electric or gas, it'll be won on price, variety, and accessibility. If you're not targeting to the majority of people, then you're not selling to them. You're not selling to the majority of the people. And therefore, you're not going to win. All right, before I get to my last 2 points, though, and trust me, they're going to be crazy. It's about the EV in the entire world. I just want to take a quick moment and, if you're finding this simple, honest breakdown helpful, please take a second to hit those like and subscribe buttons. It'll help me, and essentially, I'll help you by giving you more of this information. If not, that's cool. We'll keep it going. All right, and this is the next issue, which I think is one of the biggest problems. And for those of us who have driven electric vehicles, this is still one of the craziest problem: the charging gap. The dream we were sold was about, you have this electric vehicle and you'll be able to charge wherever you want to, right? You pull up to like a sleek charging station, plug it in, and get back on the road. The reality for many people is still a mess, though. Like, think about it. What if you don't have a garage or a dedicated parking spot to charge your vehicle overnight? That's the case for millions who live in apartments, rent their homes, or park on the street. For them, public chargers are the only option, and that experience is often terrible. You're faced with like jungle of different apps on your phone, each needing its own account and payment method. You finally find a station only to realize that the payment won't go through. You try another charger and it's just broken, which happens about one out of every 5 times. The charger next to it is just in use and you don't know when it's gonna free up. Like, it's a whole mess. And like, now think about gas station. The technology is like 100-year old and it's just works every single time you pull up, swipe your car, pump your gas, and you're gone in 5 minutes. It's simple and reliable. Until public EV charging stations is easy and dependable as a gas pump, a lot of people are simply going to say no thanks. And that's fair. Because let's be honest, the dream of a perfect charging station network is still just a dream. Finally, though, to really get what's happening, we have to zoom out. Because while it might feel like no one's buying EVs in the United States, that's only one part of a much bigger global story. The truth is, we're living in the tale of two worlds. The EV revolution isn't over, it's just not happening everywhere at once. While the US market is literally struggling after the government subsidies went away, other parts of the world are actually doing pretty well. In Europe, where gas is more expensive and regulations are stricter, the market didn't stall, it grew significantly. And then there's China. China is like in a different universe. There, EVs are on track to make up to be like 60% of all new car sales. The market is way past the early adopter phase and it's now selling out to the masses. So, like, what does this difference tell us? It shows that The American slowdown isn't a final verdict on electric cars. It's just a specific outcome from a specific strategy, one that relied too much on government money to sell expensive cars without first fixing the basic problems of high prices and frustrating charging experiences, right? So, let's circle back to the main question. Is the EV revolution over? Well, in the United States, the first chapter, the gold rush, fueled by government cash in, definitely finished. The era of easy growth is just gone. For the first time, electric cars have to compete on their own merit, and they're having a hard time with the real world challenges of being too expensive and not convenient enough for everyone in the States. But let's be real though, this isn't the end of the story. Not even close. What we're seeing is a much needed reality check. It's like a reset. The hype is just burning off, and it's being replaced by the hard questions that should have been asked all along. How do you make these cars affordable for everyday people, not just for the elite or whoever has money? How do you build a charging network also that people can actually count on? Because right now, for instance, Tesla, they have the biggest network of charging stations, but there's still a lot of people that are complaining because near their house or near the place where they live, they still can't charge. So, right now, it's kind of like where the hard work begins for the EV companies.